Hello, welcome to the Battling Barrow, and first up, apologies where I've been, just been busy enjoying myself. YouTube just recently has been getting into a bit of a strain. This is a hobby after all, and YouTube feels at the moment more like a career than a hobby, so just took a few weeks off. So I'm back, and what we're going to do today is something a bit different. I want to revisit an old miniature. So if you've watched the 80's miniature video, I'm going to revisit one of those and sort of paint it up, make it basic, make it look good, and come up with some rules for D&D. But hopefully what I want from you guys is this could be used in other games such as Age of Sigmar and say Lustra in the old world, Warhammer Fantasy. So if you play those games, drop a comment down below on what you think the rules would be for this miniature back for those games. So I'm going to be taking this Swamp Dragon. It's from Grenadier Miniatures from the 80's. So I'd already stripped it and I've reassembled it. It's always been missing the tongue, which we can deal with later on. What I never did when I assembled it originally was sort of fill in the gaps. I didn't even know how to do that back in the 80's, whereas nowadays we got products for it. I'm just going to use some of this liquid green stuff just to fill in the gap, so make it look less like two pieces glued together. So that's going to be the first thing I will do. Next up, addressing the tongue. So what I'm going to do for this is just use a paper clip that I've sort of stretched out thin, and I'm just going to make the tongue out of my favourite sculpting product is Fimo clay. So all I'm going to do is basically use the paper clip as sort of an armature and just sculpt a tongue around this. Now this stuff, you can have infinite working time until you bake it in the oven when it all hardens, so it's great for this. I'll say yeah, just working the tongue, I'll bake it and we'll attach it last. Okay, one thing I noticed about this model is it's a bit top heavy with the arm leaning out, so I'm going to need a base. So I'm thinking an oval base, so Age of Sigmar players can rejoice. Or if you want to use it in the old world, we can make it a rectangle base, but I'm going oval. Mainly I'm going to be using this in D&D, so I'm just measuring out what kind of base size I want. And I thought I had some wooden ones left over, but I don't. So if you've got into Age of Sigmar, sure, just use an Age of Sigmar base. But here's where a 3D printer comes in handy. I can just print out a base for that. When it's printed out, I can just glue the model to the base. I think it'd just be better to glue it whilst I'm working, save any accidents. Okay, over to the painting. First thing, I am going to prime it in, or base coat it, however you want, in a black. I will then xenophil, or slap chop it, so it's an overbrush of a mid grey and a light dry brush of white from the top. To give it a slap chop with a sort of xenophil highlight. And the first thing I'm actually going to paint is the tongue. I'm going to use this sort of flesh colour just to paint the tongue, and when it's dry I will give it the flesh Reikling flesh wash. So my colours of choice are going to be contrast paints. Slap chop is great for contrast paints. I'm using Skeleton Horde, sort of Plague Bearer flesh, Militarium green, and a Dark Angels or an Orc flesh green. And so yeah, first up I am going to paint the bottom part of him and round his face in Skeleton Horde, and his legs and arms in the same colour. Whilst that is still wet, I'm going to come in and paint over the top part of his face and his bottom part of his jaw with the Plague Bearer flesh. This is basically a sickly luminous green, and paint over the top part of his arms and legs in this same colour. So the Militarium green is going to be painted on all over his top scales, and I'll go over his arms and legs too. Just the top parts of his arms and legs. So I'm trying to, and this is all while it's wet, so I'm trying to wet blend all these paints in where I'll keep going over different colours. And finally, for like the main sort of paints, as it were, I'm going to just go over these sort of back spikes in this Dark Angel green. So I'm going to let that dry before coming with some details. I've also gone over the base in a brown and various browns, but I won't cover that too much. But here we're going to have this old bright yellow that I'm just going to paint the eyeballs with. When it comes to dotting the eyeballs, I don't use black paint. I use a fine tip marker pen. The inside of the mouth and sort of the back bits of the mouth where it's open there get painted a contrast flesh colour. I forget what this is called. It's not near me, but it's just a contrast flesh colour. And now I can come in, attach the tongue. Now it's all painted. I can snip the long bit of the paper clip off and just super glue this in place. Okay, on to the basing part now. As I said, I've already painted the actual base part of it, various browns, and it's got tree stumps, so I painted it like this old tree colour. And now I'm going to come in with the homemade texture paste I've made on the channel, and we're just going to splodge that all over. And then once that's done, I need to get a very swampy-esque looking base going on. I did some research to look at pictures on how I wanted it to look, so I just did an image search of sort of swampy areas. I wanted the debris art on it. It has some sort of long floating grass, so for that I'm using this doormat stuff, coconut matting I believe it's called, so it's going to pull some of that off and sprinkle that on to the texture paste. And then it's a case just coming in with various flockings. I want some sort of just 1 or 2 leaves, so don't go too heavy. So I'm going to use some tweezers for this just to put in some sort of dead leaves that float in. And I also had some coarse turf, some olive green coarse turf, and patches of sort of dark green swampy grass. Some odd rocks, and I wanted some cattails, some long cattails, so again turned to my 3D print for this. I printed them out. So between the cattails and all that basing, I think it looks great. Might even go back and add some of this stuff to my swamp bases I made last year. And this is what it looks like. We'll have a better look at the end of the video once I've done the rules, but I love this compared to how it looked like before, compared to how it looks like now. Night and day, this is brilliant. Like I said, we'll have a look later on. Now, one of these isn't going to be good enough to challenge my players at their level, so I need more, and rules going to have to reflect this. So what do you do if you need more? Well, if you're me, you go on eBay and find another one that we can paint up in the same way. This one's also missing its tongue, so we'll have to build that again, but there is an Italian company that still makes Grenadier models. So, and this is available to buy from Grenadier. I'll put a link to the description of the website. Or if you've got a 3D printer, I found this free model here. That is suitably similar enough to what this looks like. You can use one of those, I guess, print that out and use those. But I'm going to have 2 of these, and I might buy another one from Grenadier in time, or I might try printing that model out. But I should get this printed, but for now we need to get some rules for this. So let's think about what we're going to do for the rules. So before I show you what I come up with, my sort of thinking about this, I went into my D&D campaign's quite now into like level 10 plus, so I'm going to make it so it reflects that. So if you ever want to use this, just drop some rules down a bit, maybe drop hit points and damage output. But he's going to have 3 attacks. 1, he's got that arm sticking out, so he's got claws, so I need to have a claw attack. 2, he's got that tail with a sort of stinger thing on, so I'm going to include that. And 3, that tongue, so it's going to have a claw attack, a stinger like a wyvern, sort of same sort of rules as a wyvern, and a tongue that can reach out, grapple people and put them into the mouth and then sort of consume them that way. So yeah, so I'm going to sort of add that sort of enhance the giant frog toes from the books for that tongue sort of thing. And why not just have him expel some nauseous gas, make that some sort of recharge. So here's the rules that I come up with. I'm going to put them on screen now. probably put them available on Patreon to download. I think might as well have them on Patreon to download, sure. So yeah, that's it. That's the rules. Nice painted model. I like painting these old school models. Let me know if you like it, and if you watch the 80s miniatures ones, let me know if you want to see anything else painted from that collection. I might have already done it already, so I have been going through them. But that's it for this video. Hopefully the next one will be 3 weeks. See you next one, guys. Stay safe, take care, bye bye bye.